Hi, this is Brian recording the screencast for our Ca2 document, which is the proposal for the text-based mod in C++. I'll be doing. Phelan and I split up the sections into two separate groups, so I'll be doing the screencast for my section, and he'll be doing a separate screencast for his. Our game has changed from the original proposal that I told you in class. It's now actually called Dust, and we've changed the storyline as well. So I'm just going to go through that. Right. How we split it up was that we took each section and we weighted it, and we made a backlog on Google Docs. We did most of it in Google Docs so that we could each alter the other person's documents and work separately at the same time. So what we did was we weighted each of them. So, like, say for example, game architecture was it takes the most amount of time out of anything because it requires making a big UML diagram. So I did some extra stuff as opposed to doing that. So whoever was just doing some of the writing stuff had to do more. So that was me. So I did game architecture, the setting, the enemy attributes, enemy spawning, the map, the rooms, the attributes for the items, the store items, and the parser. While Phelan took care of the rest of the stuff. So like I said, we worked on Google Doc. So this is just, we worked in two separate documents, Brian's document and Phelan's document, so we could each just alter it, because this is Phelan's document here, but I could change it if I wanted to. So here's the actual document here. The game's name is Dust. The setting is that in the year 2099, humanity has fallen. There was a huge arms race near the end of the century, and as it began to come to a head, the mole men attacked and destroyed all of humanity. Well, destroyed most of civilization. So humanity has been reduced to living on the outskirts of ruins, and Dust is actually set on the outskirts of New York City. So the main setting to our game now is that the player can choose to be either a hunter or a courier. So you can either deliver packages, or you can try to intercept people that are delivering packages, and you earn different rewards depending on which group you're a part of. So that's the game setting, and then we go to game attributes. So we took the 4 attributes, which is achievement. Well, it's just for the 4 types of players. You got achievers, killers, explorers, and socializers, and we tried to put in something that would appeal to all of them. So in achievement, you can either achieve quests by going alone or forming a party of friends. And while it's easier to complete a quest with more people, you get better rewards if you do it alone. So people who train hard and achieve more are able to get better prizes. So the better players get better items. The killers, you can either choose to be a courier or a hunter, and if you're a hunter, your main task is to kill other players, while if you're a courier you just need to get to the end. But all players, no matter which group they join, will get to hunt monsters as well for different prizes. Explorers, when you're not on an active quest, you won't be able to be targeted by other players, hunters or couriers. So you can just explore the map all you'd like, try to kill monsters, train up, get experience. Socializing. Our game has 2 guilds, couriers and hunters, so depending on which guild you're on, you're able to ask other players for help, form parties and to ensure, and you'll be able to chat and trade with other players. So there's a degree of socialization as well. Player attributes was Phelan, so he's going to be going through that. And he also did the hunter system and the courier system and the combat system. So we get down to enemy attributes, which was me, and so our game is set into the ruined city of New York. So we have monsters roaming the city. They're all mutated from the nuclear fallout from the war. So instead of rooms, we have blocks. So it's a city block. So it's around 1 kilometer. And when you're moving along, if you go into a city block with a monster in it, the monster will attack you, and you won't be able to leave unless you use a special flee move or a turbo boost move to get away from them. And their attributes, we took pretty much all the attributes from the same sort of stuff from Simple Mud. So they have a name, hit points, they have an accuracy and a dodge chance. They do a minimum amount of damage and a maximum amount of damage, so it's a random variable there, and they can take a certain amount of damage absorption. So like it's like they're wearing armor, so they have like thick shells and stuff. Each one has a certain amount of experience that it gives you, and they have a drop multiplier. So what we're going to have in this game is a random chance to drop loot, so it's not going to be like that each monster has a specific loot category. It'd be like a 1 in 100 chance of dropping, so like 0 to 40 you have no loot dropped, 40 to 100 you've got loot dropped. And the more powerful the monster is, the higher the multiplier added to that. So like, say it was a dragon, you would immediately have 60 added to the multiplier, so you could never get less than the 60 worth of loot. Spawning. Now the player will spawn randomly in one of the settlements. So there's 3 settlements on our map, and where you appear at the start will be totally random chance. But they all work the same anyway, they'll have the same quests. It just depends on where you're going as opposed to it. So you still be tasked with going to another settlement if you're a courier. It'll just be a different settlement to the one you're in, and that's where you'll respawn if you die. So if you die, you go back to the original place, but you can reset it whenever you get to a new place. And enemies will spawn randomly throughout the level, and they'll remain in the rooms until they're killed. So unless they're killed, they're not going to respawn anywhere else. And we realised that this could have made a bottleneck, so like say a really powerful monster appeared in the room directly out of the settlement, no player would ever be able to get out. So we'll have a couple of safe rooms outside it that'll have at most weak enemies. So an enemy that any level 1 character will be able to kill quite easily. So they can do that to get experience, so they can stay in the safe rooms until they feel strong enough to go out into the big bad world. And then the rest of the rooms can either have we'll choose from a different database, so they can have either weak enemies or strong enemies. So the weak enemies can only spawn, safe rooms can only spawn weak enemies, but the dangerous rooms can spawn any type of enemy. And what we'll have is that every 5 minutes the game will perform a check on which rooms need repopulating. So if a room doesn't have any monster or any type of monster or any loot within it, a random number generator will decide whether or not the room will be repopulated. So what we'll have is we'll have a random number function, and void populate will just go through every empty room, and if it's a 50-50 chance that it'll be repopulated. And it'll have another drop system, so it'll use the drop system, so like we'll have a database of like 0 to 10 it's a rat, 10 to 20 it's something, 10 to 20 to 30 it's something else. And our rooms, so we've got 6 types of rooms. So we have the settlement squares, so this is just where players can hang out. This is a safe place for everyone to be. No monsters, no players, no monsters, and there's no PvP. And they've got also the shop, so the shop is here, the Couriers Guild and the Hunters Guild. So each guild will have different quests, so you can either join the Couriers Guild or the Hunters Guild. And then you have the safe rooms and the dangerous rooms. So safe is blue and red is dangerous. So you have a certain amount of safety barriers around each settlement, and then you get into the dangerous part. Item attributes. So we have a fair amount of item attributes, but not every item has not every item has an actual modifier. They just might be set to 0. So we have the ID, which we use to say like we'll have each player's inventory will have a vector inventory. So it'll have 1, 2, 3, and 1 will correspond to the ID of the item. So if it's a 1, the game will know that 1 is actually a short sword. So they have the item's name, the type. So we have 4 types. We have weapon, armor, utility item, and bike upgrade. So we have biking is going to be one of the major parts that will be explained by Phelan. So we have a system where the players need fuel to be able to get around. So you'll be able to buy upgrades for your bike so you can move around faster and for longer. We'll have minimum damage, maximum damage, speed, which is how fast the attack happens, price on how to buy it. You'll have a 60% sell rate. What does it add to strength, health, agility, accuracy, dodge, how much damage it absorbs, how does it affect health, so does it give you extra health, does it take it away, fuel efficiency, like what does it add to fuel efficiency on the bike, and the max fuel, how does it add to your max fuel. We've got a list of weapons, so we've got the iron hammer. So the iron hammer has a lot of damage, but it's slow and it affects your agility. We've got the short sword, which is kind of an all-rounder, and then you've got like the rusty blade, which is everyone will get for free. And we have certain items like that which are just free that everyone gets. And then we currently have 2 health items, which is paracetamol and the first aid kit, which will give you +5 or +10 health. And we'll also have poison that will add damage to your weapon for 5 minutes. And then for the bike we have premium gasoline, which means you can buy sets of 20 or 10 gasoline that will be better than normal gasoline, so if you need to speed boost you can take it with you. And we'll also have, you can get more reserve tanks, so you can get, instead of just having 20 fuel capacity, you'd have 30 or 40, which will let you travel around for a lot longer and perform quests more readily. Commands is back to failing, so I'll keep going. Right, for the parser, this is I think this is my last section. There are no graphics in the game, so the parser is going to be a vital part of it. And what we're going to have for our parser is we're going to have a map of values and keys that is a dictionary to our game. So what will happen is the parser will take in the full string from the player. It'll split it into a vector of separate words using the parse word function. So we'll take a whole sentence and we'll parse it into its separate variables. So we'll just get like /take short sword off the ground. It'll split those each into single words. And then it'll go into the map with the word take. And say for example here it says take and pick, and each one has the value 1. So this will return 1, and then that'll be passed down the function into the next one, which is perform command. And then perform command will take the 1 and it'll know what to do with 1. It'll take 1 and the rest of the words in the vector. So for our pseudocode for this, we've got in command is just going to be the command that's passed into the function that performs the command. We have a map, which is string int, map iterator, which is also string int. The string input is just the string that's passed into the parser, so that's what they were sent originally. We've got the vector string of words, which is, we're going to make a new function called parser words in the input, which will just use the parse word function from the basic lib to make a vector of different words. Then we'll have the iterator will go to dictionary.find word, which will give you the iterator pointing to that word. If iterator is not null, then we'll use command itersecond, which will bring up the value, which will be 1. In the example it was 1, so it'll bring you 1. And then we've perform command 1, which will just be a function that has a bunch of if else's that have, so if 1 do this, if 2 do this, if 3 do this, and it'll use the words from the next one. So the words will be reparsed in the perform command. So say it was pick up sword, it will take the item. It'll mean sword is an item, so that means there was an item on the ground, and it'll pick that up and put it into your inventory. And if the iterator returns null, then it means that the user performed an invalid command, and rather than just say, like in the simple mode, it would just say, it would take that in that the player has just typed in something they wanted to say, and it would just say it out. This will instead return to message just to the user, command not found. So as opposed to just telling everybody that he wanted to pick up sword, it's instead just going to send back to him. And that's pretty much the pseudocode for my parts of the project. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Okie dokie, bye bye.